Hello everyone, have I got a pretty sweet game for you. I'm playing against Herson, I guess is how you pronounce that. And let me pull this up. Very cool game. They actually had a comment on the match that was anything goes, which if you know what I like to play, I am happy to see that comment. Let's pull up the chat also. Yep, it doesn't really spoil anything, thankfully. And I was excited to see their commander as well, and it goes with what's been seeming to be the theme so far. I'm playing my Yisan, of course, for an anything goes match, and my opponent's playing Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. Very cool. It's the new Storm commander that everyone's testing out. Basically, if Yidris attacks once and deals combat damage to an opponent once, all of your spells gain Cascade, which should be sufficient to almost always win the game. Uh, so Yidris is a pretty cool commander, and if they get a broken start with the talismans or the signets, you are in pretty rough shape because they're so good in Yidris, especially with all of the things that untap all of your non-land permanents that you can cascade into or cascade off of. They can produce so much mana in the deck. So Yidris is the new commander, just like I just played against Atraxa. I'm excited to have this game as well. Playing my Yisan deck, I have a beautiful hand. Turn 1. Turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Yisan or Zenith for the Priest, and then Priest into Seedborn and Yisan because I would have 1, 2, 3. Priest taps 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I could untap Priest for no value. Green Sun for 1, get another Dork. Yeah, for Quirion Ranger. That would be it. And then I would have Yisan Seedborn. I think that math works out. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not what I end up doing. So I definitely keep this hand, and my opponent keeps their 7. Love it. So they skip their first draw, and lead on Temple of Malady. And I immediately assume the deck's not as tuned as it could be, because they're playing ETB tapped lands, but these are probably the best lands that have to come into play tapped, in my opinion, just because the Scry 1 is pretty good value, and I see they put it on top as well. So, should have a good game. I pick up Corruptor, so that'll be useful, especially because they didn't have turn 1 Soul Ring or something, thankfully. So, Warrior Grave into Talisman into top. Well, that's pretty good. Imagine they would have had top on turn 1 and been able to activate the top of this turn if this wasn't a tap land. Because I can only assume that they had top in their opener or they had just seen it. So we'll see. Well, I won't see that, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm definitely going to cut off their mana here because I just need to keep their mana under control as best as I can. As much as I want to deploy Yisan here, I can't take this turn off and do nothing and then just let them resolve Yidris. So I gotta use my Viridian Corruptor here and knock out that Talisman. And it's a blue Talisman, so I get bonus right there. And they go Blood Crypt tapped into Talisman of Indulgence, which makes me think that they're probably kicking themselves that they didn't run this out first, because this would have been destroyed and they would have had blue instead of red, but maybe the red's more relevant for them because they only have the one source of it, or maybe they top decked that source, I don't know. And they shut the turn back. So I pick up Karametra's Acolyte, another card that actually I want to cast instead of Yisan at this point. So I decide to run that out. Mostly because it gives me Zenith next turn, or Seedborn, or Regal Force, just something to do besides Yisan, because I'm getting close to the point where I can Zenith for Terastodon and almost win the game. Because it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I top deck a land, I have Zenith Terastodon, and I didn't even need to use Yisan, because Karametra's Acolyte just taps for so much mana. So I'm going to get in for some Infect, because I doubt I'm not expecting Yidris plus haste on their turn. They top, arrange that, drop an island, and Windfall my hand away. Alright, so a little bit brutal. I lose the Zenith, but they actually went from 3 cards up to 4 cards. So Windfall was pay 3 mana to go from So it cost them 1 card out of a hand of 3. So they went down to 2 and then up to 4. And I went 4 to 4. I lost a good hand though. So I don't know. It's not the best value, and I mean, I was rewarded by playing out my hand instead of running Yisan out. So I'm not going to complain about it too much. Pick up a forest. I give some thought to this turn. I decided I'm going to go with Yisan first because it adds a mana for Acolyte. Use Acolyte, play Visionary, see what Visionary gets me, a Wood Elves. I also run the Wood Elves out, and I decided to go for the Dryad Arbor here just to put more damage on the board. This was a little bit of a greedy play here. I'll talk about it in a sec. Alright, so look at the mana that I have in play. If he untaps and if Hirson untaps and casts Damnation or Toxic Deluge, I lose all of my creatures, and I would go up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana sources, which isn't enough to deploy Yisan and Bird, which is what I would want to do. If I had gone for a basic forest, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana sources, which would be Yisan plus Bird after Wrath, which would have been a much better situation to be in. So I'm a little bit punished here, or I could be a little bit punished here by going for the greedy play and getting the Arbor, but I decide that having the attacker is actually might be slightly more worth it to, or attacker slash blocker to absorb 1 of the 5 points of Yidris damage should it ever attack, is going to be a risk play with that's a bit riskier but has a higher reward if I'm right. That they don't pack a ton of mass removal in this deck because they're just trying to storm off. They're not playing a control build. They're playing a storm build, and I've put them on the storm build as soon as I saw Windfall and the Wheel of Fate go away. I know they're on Storm at this point. I've got to assume that they don't have mass removal because they don't care about it. They just care about winning the game. If Yidris gets in and wins that, and they win that way, good. If they don't need Yidris and they try to go off without it, they still don't care about my board state because they can just win regardless of how much power I have in play, whether they're facing down lethal or not. So I decided to go with Elite Dryad Arbor just to have that extra blocker to make Yidris less appealing. So they go for end of turn, Sensei's Top, untap, play land, fetch, get Underground Sea, Dark Ritual. So here comes something, right? So ton of mana. I don't know if they were checking, but alright, Time Spiral. I actually don't mind that. It draws me a bunch. They went from a hand of 2 or 3, I think. But I pick up Survival of the Fittest and Phyrexian Revoker. So, amazing hand here. Mostly just because of these 2 cards. Elder doesn't matter to me at this point. I know this works. There we go. They need to untap their lands. Aether Flux Reservoir. And I'm thinking, am I just dead here? I could very much just be taking 50 to the face immediately. They play Helm of Awakening. All spells cost 1 less. Pretty good with top. If they have Future Sight in hand, I can lose the game next turn because Future Sight, flip the top to the top of the library, play top for free, flip top to the top of the library, it says draw your deck for no mana, and have Storm equal to casting the deck with the Reservoir in play. So very good. And Lion's Eye Diamond, alright. So that was the 5th spell cast. So if they have 1 more spell, I lose the game. And I don't think they understood how Lion's Eye Diamond works in on MTGO. If you select the spell in your hand and then tap mana for it, you can use Lion's Eye Diamond to pay for it. And I think it'll be illustrated on their next turn. They have 4 cards in hand at the moment. I think they have a 4-drop in their hand. And we'll see. So I have land, Utopia Sprawl on my forest. Might as well get it out of my hand a little bit. I know they have windfall effects. And I'm going to clear my combat step. Get that stuff done because I know what I'm going to be going for with Yisan. Jumped through that. I got Wirewood Symbiote. Where'd it go? There it is. Because I need to deal with Reservoir. I can't let this stick around, even because there's no way I'm going to win if this is in play. So I'm going to untap Yisan by bouncing my Corruptor. tap Acolyte for a ton of mana before I do that, naturally, because this is 2 free mana. Corruptor only costs me 1 mana. Replay Corruptor, kill the Reservoir. Alright, that's step 1. Reservoir not in play. I could Revoker it, but that's just asking for me to lose to any removal on Revoker, because they'll still gain the life. I need that to not happen either. I want them to have to work to put it back into play and work to gain more life. So I'm going to Revoker their Sensei's Top, because I lose to Sensei's Top plus Helm. If I can turn off their ability to top draw, I'm less likely to lose to that. That requires specifically Future Sight. This requires any spell, though. So this is the safer thing to Revoker. And I'm going to Survival of the Fittest. Now I still got a ton of mana. Pitch the Sakura Tribe-Elder. Go get Quirion Ranger. Play Quirion Ranger. Use Quirion Ranger to untap Karametra. Tap Karametra for 13. Pitch the Whisperwood. And if I was smart, I would have realized I could have Quirion Ranger the Dryad Arbor back instead and have 1 more survival. Get Terrastodon. Slam Tenacity into play. Kill 3 blue sources. Tap Yisan for Tajuru Preserver. Mostly because I didn't want him to be able to somehow make me sacrifice things. I wasn't sure what to get here, but I figured Preserver would be the get. I'm already very confident in my board state right now. I've got him mana screwed. I don't need Priest of Titania to win this game here. I need to not lose, and that's the game that I'm playing now. So if I had been smart and bounced the Dryad Arbor, I could get another 2-drop. I don't know what I would have gotten there. Maybe not a lot of options at 2. I could have a bunch of options at 1. Let's see. I could have gotten Boreal Druid. I could have gotten Fight Bear. Probably Sylvan Safekeeper. Yeah, if I was smart, I could have gotten Sylvan Safekeeper here also, and put that into play as well, just to doubly protect my board. Yeah, I should have bounced Dryad Arbor and gotten Sylvan Safekeeper. That's a misplay. And resolve Sylvan Safekeeper. And I would have still had mana open to use Yisan on their turn. And I make another little bit of blunder here. I untap my, I think, Karametra. Nope, I untap Yisan. Oh yeah, because I didn't want Yisan to be targeted with removal. And I don't immediately use, so I bounce the elf there, and I don't immediately use Quirion Ranger to untap Karametra, and I don't know why, because I'm planning to untap Karametra because I have a creature in my hand now. But that was a misplay because now I can't, if they have kill in response, I don't have Karametra's mana. So we'll see. I think he does have, nope, alright, just goes up. So he goes for Ad Nauseam. So I've got to assume, I guess they didn't have a 4-drop. I got to assume they didn't have a 3 or 4-drop, or they don't know how Lion's Eye Diamond works. Because even though it says discard your hand, if you select your spell, and it's not just MTGO, the actual rules to Magic apply as well. Lion's Eye Diamond can cast 1 card from your hand at the cost of the rest of your hand. You select your spell before you pay costs for it. How Magic actually works. You don't tap first. You select your spell and then pay mana. It's just you can have mana floating in your pool that you pay. The same way that when I select Elvish Visionary, if I have 4 green in my mana pool, or like green, blue, black, it'll automatically take the green because it needs that, and then I select what else to pay for it. If I select that spell first and then activate Lion's Eye Diamond, that spell is still selected to be cast, so it's in this limbo between hand and stack, and it doesn't get hit by Lion's Eye Diamond. So I would have lost if they had a 4 or less spell in their hand and they understood that. I'm not sure if they did or they just didn't have the spell. So they had Nauseam, pitched their hand, and let me pop out the revealed. I love seeing Ad Nauseam go off. So I'm going to activate Yisan in response, because I know they have Helm of Awakening, and I know what I can get at 3. So I'm going to get Reclamation Sage to kill this Helm before they get any value out of it, more than they got off Ad Nauseam. And I didn't want to do that in their upkeep like I could have, just because I wasn't sure if I wanted to kill Helm yet, or if I wanted to go get my overrun and win the game off infect. Or try to win the game off infect, because this makes a ton of mana. Women plus this plus Quirion Ranger to untap that would have been an auto win on the infect damage. So Lotus Petal, Psych Rift, Lotus Bloom, which is valueless because they didn't cascade. Mizzix Mastery, Treasure Cruise hits domes them for a ton. Memory's Journey, Brainstorm, Carpet of Flowers is useless. Windfall, Night's Whisper, Chain of Vapor, Lab Man, Dramatic Reversal, not good. They don't have any. They only have one non-land mana source. Time Twister, not going to save them. Vandal Blast, Paradoxical Outcome, like I was talking about, they've hit no free mana other than Petal, which really hurts them. Metamorphose, and they decide to stop there at 4, and that's mostly because if they hit anything, Force of Will, there's probably a lot that will kill them from 4, so they got one piece of free mana. Not very appetizing. So they go with the Lotus Petal, sack for green, use Metamorphose, and I think for a sec, and I decide... so here's what I do. I untap Karametra, and I make another blunder here as well. Tap Karametra, pitch the Dryad Arbor, get Scrib Ranger, play Scrib Ranger, and I should have used Scrib Ranger immediately to untap Yisan. I know they have mana floating. I'm not worried about losing the mana in my pool because they basically have to kill me in this step. Otherwise, I'm going to win the game. So I'm safe to just let all of this mana float at this point. I should have untapped Yisan right away, is what I'm saying. Just because if they have Killis Effect. So they go for Windfall. And this is my other blunder. So I untap, because I might as well. And I activate Yisan at 4. So let me jump to the library. There we go. So I have a couple of options here. Now, there's only one. I don't play Yeva Nature's Herald in my deck anymore. If I did, I could get Nature's Herald, and bounce, or get Nature's Herald, and then survival away my Elvish Visionary, get some other creature if I wanted, like Eternal Witness, or whatever option I needed. Anything that was 7 or less, which is everything in the deck at this point. I could also get... I probably get Woodland Bellower, I think, to be honest. Maybe. I don't know. It's not as good when you don't have Terracodon as the option anymore. The other option I have is Null-Made Shepherd, which is tap 4 and tap creatures, destroy artifact or enchantment. And I know he has untap effects for artifacts and enchantments, like Dramatic Reversal. So I decide to go with that here because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 untapped creatures. So I have more than enough to use Null-Made Shepherd twice, and still have a blocker up potentially if I need to, like Terracodon to stop Yidris if he somehow got Yidris into play. So I go with Null-Made Shepherd right here. I pick up a ton of cards, nothing of relevant value to me because I no longer have Flash in this deck. So what I was talking about, what I could have done would be when I Yisan up to 4, I could have gotten Temur Sabertooth, used 2 of my mana, bounce Scrib Ranger, replay Scrib Ranger. So I would go to from, I'd be at 8 here, then 4, or 8, 6, 4 from bounce replay, untap, and go up to 5, and I would have gotten Acidic Slime. I feel like Null-Made Shepherd's probably still better, though, just because I know that I'm going to have a kill. I'm going to be able to kill 2 things with Shepherd, where Slime only kills 1 thing. So this is probably the correct one, even though that other line probably would have worked just killing the Talisman. This is instant speed, it's whenever I need to, and I can activate it again in response if they somehow can respond. And I don't know if it was the Null-Made Shepherd or if the Windfall for 21 didn't get him there, didn't get him enough of the fast mana, but that ends the game. And I wanted to show you this because Yidris is an awesome design space for the card. I think it's a very exciting thing to use because you sort of have that cascade from Grixis and the trample from green. Definitely one of the better built decks. There's definitely room to be improved, though. I mean, we did see Underground Sea in there somewhere that I blew up. Yeah, right there. With my Terrasta Nasty. So, overall, I wanted to showcase this gameplay just because Yidris is a really cool commander. Ad Nauseam is one of my favorite archetypes. I used to play in type 1.5, which is a legacy for newer players. It's a fun build. I like seeing Ad Nauseam go off. I like beating Ad Nauseam even more. I know some people would concede as soon as they saw that it was a Storm build, and because they don't want to see it. But I mean, I'm playing a competitive build as well, and Yisan can get there. And as I showed you, I didn't have a broken start with Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, as I have them highlighted right there. I didn't have a Stacks hate piece in something like Thorn of Amethyst, which probably could have won me the game all by itself, because, you know, Storm doesn't like Thorn or Sphere effects. Or, God, if I had Trinisphere start, what would he have done? Like, how do you beat Trinisphere? Cascade doesn't work underneath the sphere because you're casting for free +3. So I really like showcasing the power of this deck, especially when it's just a fair start for mono green. I had land Dork. I didn't even have turn 2 Yisan. I think I was turn 5 Yisan. I just had their answers when I needed them. The artifact removal. I played a tight game, I think, and I don't know if I could have improved my gameplay anymore, any better in this game. Let me know if you think I could have played 1 point a little bit tighter, or if you just thought I played correctly. I hope to see you all in the next one. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary as best as I could give it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video to anyone you think might enjoy. See you all.